Two Air Peace pilots have tested positive for alcohol and cannabis following a runway excursion at Port Harcourt International Airport on July 13, 2025. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau confirmed this in a preliminary accident report released on Monday. The Boeing 373 carrying 103 passengers from Lagos veered off runway 21 after landing from an unstabilized approach. The aircraft touched down more than 2,200 meters beyond the threshold and stopped 209 meters into the clearway. Although no injuries or structural damage were reported, toxicology results revealed that both the captain and first captain had recently consumed alcohol, while a cabin crew member tested positive for cannabis. The NSIB described the findings as a serious threat to aviation safety. Director of Public Affairs Bimbo Olawumi Oladeji said intoxicants in flight crew compromise judgment, reaction, and overall safety. As part of immediate safety recommendations, Air Peace has been directed to strengthen crew fitness for duty checks and improve resource management training, especially in handling unstabilized approaches. The Bureau has launched a full investigation and will release its final report once completed. I mean, when you get into a car, your life seemingly is in the hands of the driver of the car. When you get into a plane, your life is in the hands of the pilot. What are your thoughts on this report?
I mean, this is not the first time I'm hearing about something like this. I don't think I've heard about anything like this, and it's really scary to even imagine that this can happen, right? And that just goes to show the level of I don't want to begin to find things that I mean the pilots have done what they've done. I'm sure they will be penalized for this. If possible, they might even lose their license. But I can't even begin to understand why a pilot would take such a risk, given that you have the lives of hundreds of people in your hands, and things can get bad enough on the flight, right? And to think that being intoxicated or to not think that being intoxicated would make your judgment a bit shaky is pretty unreasonable to me. And it just goes to show that the level of accountability of people, especially in this part of the world, is no longer anything to write home about. Because I mean, pilots are people that are known to be pretty much straightforward, if I may use that word, and accountable for their actions, their way of life, and all of that. I even read somewhere that pilots tend to be much more calm in terms of when they wake up in the morning, they try to work out, they try to keep their diets in check. Basically, full body health care and checkup. That is because they want their mental skills, to be healthy. Because we are dealing with such a very what's the word to use?
Delicate.
A very delicate role, a delicate position. Because you could be flying a plane and something happens,
right,
and you need to react. You need to make the best judgments in split seconds.
Especially because there are lots of people's lives in your hands, literally.
Lives in your hands.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, for this story right now just goes to show that this is probably not the first time it's happening. Because if you look at the number of flights and personnel involved, I mean, the captain, the assistant captain, and someone on the plane as well. I mean, just
a crew member, yes.
Doing it for quite well. Yeah, and they were not caught. So I think the aviation ministry should try to ensure that these people are checked. I mean, we are not expecting the worst things, but this will make sure they keep straight and they hold themselves accountable, especially in this kind of role that they are taking.
Right. Now, you have talked about being accountable and them being held accountable. But just imagine that when this aircraft, now they were not seeing clearly on where they were going to land. They did land 2,200 feet above the normal rationale with which they should have landed. And it is because they were, actually on the substance. And if this happened that there was an actual plane crash, people would have died before people remember to say the fault is actually from the aircraft. Do you understand? Everybody would have sat up to, first things first, blame the aircraft, say maybe the aircraft was bad, something in the aircraft was probably bad, not knowing that it's the personnel. What are your thoughts as regards regular checks for this personnel? Like, this should be something that should be done often. Like you said, it's a possibility that they've been doing this spiral, but if that plane did not land 2,200 feet below the actual point, above the normal point it was supposed to land, and the plane had to veer off and all of that, this test wouldn't have been carried out for, this expose to have occurred. If this didn't happen, if they landed, as they would have landed, this flight would have just gone, directly, and everybody would, the board and all of that, and it would just be like it would just be like a normal day. And next time, this same process will be repeated. What are your thoughts as regards this test being a constant occurrence as opposed to being a once in a while circumstance or situation?
Yeah, just like I mentioned there, and we have also just stated, it should be something that is as frequent as the technical checks that have been done on planes. I believe before planes are being let into the sky or being piloted, they are being checked, check the engine oil, check I don't know the parts of the plane, right? But you make sure you check the landing gears, the landing tires, the fuel levels, and all of that. That same check or level of check should be given to the pilots as well, and even the hostesses, the cabin crew.
Right.
Ensure that they are trained, they are mentally stable to handle lives that are literally in their hands. Because like I said, if one party, maybe the assistant pilot was the only one in this whole race or in this whole audio, would have said, oh, it would have been plausible to conclude that it would have been a one-time thing, or maybe they didn't have any idea. Or to have literally 3 people, in a full cabin crew under the influence, it just goes to show that they have been doing it for quite a while. And like you said, if this had not happened, they'll probably have been doing it still, God forbid, they'll probably crash one day, and then it will be too late to tell if these guys were under the influence or not.
Right.
I mean, so this is just I would say it's a good and bad thing. Because it's a good thing because we now know that this thing can happen or these things are happening.
Right.
So other pilots out there would be on the lookout and would hold themselves accountable, because now it's no longer easy if they thought it was before.
Right.